I just want to introduce our guest speaker. I don't know how many years ago I first met him, but I was introduced to him on our executive board when he was first chair. And due to unusual circumstances, he became our chair. And he had a vision. You know, we used to be a ragtag group that with a common interest, and we would meet at the post office once a month. And it was just a meeting. We had no real, visions or anything like that. We were just getting together like a book club. Oh, this is a book a month. And then Geoffrey stepped in. And Geoffrey had these visions, that we would get a headquarters and everything. And yeah, how in the world could we get a headquarters? You need money. We had no money or anything. But he plugged ahead and he did it. And let me tell you, Geoffrey can make a storefront into a cathedral. And that's what he did. That's what he did for us. His vision of getting us a headquarters came to fruition. We're not there right now, but we all can't wait to get back. And we still have it. And that's amazing because it costs money. And through him, we've learned how to raise money. We've learned how to bring all Democrats in and meet with them. And like we have 50 people here during the pandemic. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. So let me step aside, and I have our guest speaker, our one of Vision, who has done a lot for us and brought us together and made us a great family and taught us how to share. One other thing about him, he's also a teacher. And what he taught me this year is I never understood why anyone would want to run for office if they knew they were going to lose, because who wants to be a loser? People like that. And and he said, you do that to make the opponent spend their money. And I never even thought of that. So Jeffrey is going to tell us how to get all those Republicans to spend their money. And and talk about organizing and everything. And so go ahead, Geoffrey, with your visions for the coming year.
Thank you very much, Diane. As I think about it, it is such an honor. As I look at all your faces and I see all of you and where we're all from. My goodness, this is diversity central. Just a few things let me say about that. Diane, a good Roman Catholic from New York City, introduced a retired Lutheran pastor from Wisconsin. And here we are together and I become the leader in the world of Vera Avery and Al Higgins and Post Family and Jimmy Schoaf, and this diverse group of people here in Rowan County. Take a look at everybody's faces, and those that just stop and think, oh my goodness, how did we all get together here? But we are, with a common vision and a purpose, all the way from East Spencer to Kannapolis. Rowan, you're an amazing bunch of people, and I'm proud of you. And it really is an honor to have served and will continue to serve. I was thinking, golly, I'm aging out. I should probably just, hang it up, etc. And then along came this guy, Biden, who's exactly my age, and he got elected president. So maybe you're stuck with me for a while. Who knows? Anyhow, greetings, greetings, Democrats, greetings, progressives, unaffiliateds, and we extend the welcome to disaffected Republicans as well. I started working on this speech weeks ago, actually, to try to put all the pieces together here. The events of the past week have completely changed my introduction. January 6th, this last Wednesday, will go down in history as a tragic day in American democracy. Our president incited a riot. And people who believed in his lies stormed and broke into the Capitol building of the United States of America to stop the certification of a duly and fairly elected president and vice president of our country. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, it just someday, our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren will say, "Oh my goodness, did that really happen?" The history teachers here in our midst will say, "Yes, it really did happen. Really did happen." They were misled by this president and other political leaders, pundits, conspiracy bloggers to believe that the election was stolen. And so they had to attack and take it back. What a tragedy for our country, for our whole country. But in the middle of that, there's a ray of hope. Our government held, the certification process was followed, and believe it or not, some Republicans actually spoke up. Finally, but some actually did speak up. The other date of this last week, January 5th, Tuesday, Election Day in Georgia. Well, that will go down as a history day, a day of hope, a day of celebration. Amen, amen, amen. Reverend Raphael Warnock was elected the first Black senator from Georgia. Hey, John Ossoff was elected a senator from Georgia. My goodness, a Black pastor, Black Baptist pastor, and a Jewish boy, neither of which are known for great popular bases, but a whole lot of work happened. And instead of pulling out nooses for those kind of folks like they did 100 years ago, or more recently, these men were elected. Now, those elections were the result of years of hard political organizing work. Many dedicated believers in democracy, in spite of all odds, went to work. John Lewis, Dr. King, Stacey Abrams, and all of the countless followers and workers with the whole movement that Stacey brought up to the forefront. Many donations, absolutely. We know about how many donations they tried to get out of us, etc. And of course, the bottom line, Black voters matter. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But how did it happen? How did it happen? It happened because of organizing, inspiring. Stacey Abrams is an inspiring person. John Lewis, an inspiring person, and instilling confidence in people that we could make a difference, that you can change things, and a whole lot of registering of voters and then getting them out. Personal contacts, connections, focusing on the issues. Everybody talks about those campaigns, talked about how they focused on the issues. Most importantly, there, of course, was the long-term planning and follow through. Can we do this here? I think we can. And I think we need to lift up that vision and that possibility for here in North Carolina, and specifically here, us red, partially rural, Rowan County. We can do it here. We can do it here, inch by inch, voter by voter, registrant by registrant. We can do it here. Now, original intention of my speech, which I began weeks ago, was to lay out recommendations for the future operations of our county party here in order to strengthen our presence and effectiveness in improving life in Rowan County for everybody who lives here, for everybody. And now to do that, what did they do in Georgia? They focused on issues. Here we need to focus on local issues relating to real life concerns of real life people and how we address those concerns and issues in our local government, in our county government, in our municipal governments. We've got people on the Spencer board on our call this morning. We carry things out specifically in terms of how decisions are made locally. And so that means that we can't just complain about, oh, wasn't it awful it happened in Washington? Yes, it was awful what happened in Washington. We can't just say, ain't it terrible what goes on in Raleigh? Yeah, we know about that. Or any of the other governments. You can't just complain. You've got to organize. Got to organize. That's what we are here for. That's what we're about. And that's the challenge that we have. And we have to keep it focused locally. So, and then we will build up our base. If people join together and see that we are there saying, yes, education is important. And this means, a new consolidated K through 8, Knox, new Knox school. Okay, we need to focus on that kind of specificity, but we have to know what we're talking about. We have to know what we're talking about. So as we uh, focus on doing all these things, picking up these issues, always saying this is for the common good of everybody here. We undertake these recommendations. We have to understand that our strength is that our shared values. We come from all over, all kinds of places and experiences, et cetera. Some of us much more difficult than others. Yes, I have a little hole in my leg, a scar that's there. Reminds me, that gun violence is something that we have to address and be very careful of as people keep buying guns upon guns upon guns. I know something about that. I'm a survivor. I've got my little button to Teresa Raul gave me one time. But our strength is in these shared values and in the diversity of who we are, racially, economically, demographically. Okay, that's our strength. We must become even more aware of the history of our county and the racism, the air that we breathe around here is full of it, and it has shaped everybody's lives. But we have to keep using that, knowing that that's the background here, but then to work on solving current problems, the legacy of those things of the past. But we have to resolve and address current problems, so that when we take a look at the, so the city council here, it's important to have Al Higgins there who say, now is this program that we're doing involving everybody? And oh my goodness, we got to think new kinds of ways. And that is important, whether it's here, whether it's China Grove, it's so important. In the process of saying these are the important issues, because we've been around listening and paying attention, our base expands, and we will improve the levels of participation of all ages in our local processes of democracy. Here, small d democracy for everybody. To do that, I suggest 4 words: that we listen, that we learn, that we advocate, and then we serve. Repeat that: listen, learn, advocate, and serve. How do we listen? Where do we start with listening? Well, first off, we have to start by listening to each other. We recognize faces and names, and maybe we did some canvassing together, or showed up and we sat beside each other making phone calls. Do we know each other? Now, are we aware of how strong we are as people, and all the different experiences and gifts that we bring? What we do here in terms of basic organizing, it's Democratic Party, practice, but more basically it's saying, let's come together in smaller groups across this county, pulling together people living in our areas. The primary purpose is to listen to each other. What are the things that are really of concern to you personally? So that when we say we are involved and committed to being Democrats, it's because we have a personal investment in this. And then not just to say, I'm all for better education, but to say, I am concerned about the issue of healthcare here in Rowan County, and what I'm willing to do about that personally, I will start going to the DHS meetings here, where the concerns are being addressed. I'm going to go find out what community caring, people are doing in that clinic, to get involved specifically, to know, and then to figure out, okay, if some of these things need to be improved, then we will go about doing that. The invitation to gather in these groups to come together is going to have to be done on a Zoom basis this year. We must preserve, the safety of everybody. The shots business is just starting to come, but not all of us are over 75, and so it's going to take a while for so we can gather together safely. But we've collected a whole lot more names of interested and concerned people as people got their signs, we got their data. And so we're going to need to pull that together. Now, some of you are in our party structure, you are precinct chairs, those geographic areas, arbitrarily set years ago. We have people who are chairpersons in each of those areas. Well, you may not know who that person is. There may not be an organized structure in your area, but if you are willing to be one of those people, chairs, we've got your names and addresses and contact information. But others of you, if you are willing to become involved in helping us come together to know each other better, listen to each other, and then start laying out, issues and work to do, put your name in the chat. Put your name in the chat so that we can, contact you, bring you together with others in your areas so that we strengthen what we're doing. We have to get together to learn to know each other, learn to know what we are concerned about, what those issues are for us, and then we kind of divvied up who's going to do what. Now, that means we have to have at least a meeting here in January, February, maybe a couple meetings in your area. You may call it, a couple different ways, or new people. We need to start from scratch in those areas. Let us know so that we can be of help to enable you as the leaders. Remember on this, gathering, we're all the leaders. It isn't somebody else, it's us, okay? And so then we move forward, fulfill, structural leadership roles, and people who become, get elected as chairs or vice chairs of these areas. Then you wind up on the county executive committee, and here's where we set policy and raise money and do all those things that a county, party does. But it starts with us personally and issues. And then what do we do? What do we do? We need to recruit people to listen and learn. Remember those words, listen and learn, and attend as many of these various board meetings, council meetings, commission meetings that we have in our county, so that we know exactly what is going on. We don't just talk in general of what's important to me, but let's talk specifics. Let's go and find out what the county commission is actually doing. Let's go and see what the Economic Development Commission is doing. So that we get specific. Are there ways in which we can influence and help those things do better jobs? But we at least need to be known as people who show up at those places. Many of these boards and commission meetings and councils, there aren't any people there. At the last Salisbury City Council meeting, there weren't anybody there watching them or listening, to them, and it didn't show up on anybody connected on the Zoom call either. But we need to be there. So that's what my first ask of you. Beyond getting together, the next thing we need to do is to participate, go to, listen to, learn what is going on at Healthy Rowan. Did you know that Healthy Rowan is a group that pulls together people with healthcare and poverty and caring for people, of all kinds of agencies, food policy, it brings all those people together. My goodness, that's where the stuff is happening. Those are the people, and we can go and sit there and learn and be involved and advocate as well. We then need to feed back to our county executive meeting to say, these are the issues we ought to be involved in. This is what makes us tick as people who call themselves progressives or Democrats. This is how we say justice hits the road. This is where the rubber hits the road as we learn the specifics and then go on to carry out these things. And eventually we'll wind up on those boards because we are known. Now, there's another really tough area to try to address. And I've reached out to my counterpart in the Republican Party. We haven't been able to put two and two together yet. But in light of the kind of stuff that's happened in Washington this week, we must do something here locally, person to person, to try to bridge some of these awful, terrible gaps that we have in our society. It's not going to get brought together if a few people don't start sitting down and trying to come together in civil conversation. It's another whole area, but it's something that if we don't try to do something in those areas, it's not going to happen. And so I'll keep you informed of what may transpire there, maybe a book discussion, maybe a meeting of 2 or 3 people of leadership on a regular basis. We'll just have to see how that unfolds. But again, we need to listen and learn in each of these areas from each other personally, from these various boards and commissions and civic organizations. We need to be in touch with each other on a personal level. What happens then? Well, we figure out, oh my goodness, if we would all just get together and advocate for some of the issues that are being grappled with on a town council, um, you know, I forever hear about water and sewer issues in East Spencer. What's the hard work involved that needs to be done to assist life to be better there for the people of Spencer, or how we interconnect. And some of these things are interconnected. But what would happen if we had, 50 people? How many are on? 57 people on this list this morning? If 57 people showed up to start to say, we need to get this addressed, we need to figure out a way to get this solved. 40 to 50 people were showing up at boards of elections saying we need Sunday voting. What happened? We got Sunday voting. That's what happens. An issue, organizing, advocating, and lo and behold, change occurs. Change occurs. Yes, that's the kind of vision that I bring to this. Yes, for those of you who've ever read anything about Saul Alinsky Community Organization, that's where I cut my eye teeth on this in the city of Chicago. I was an officer in a community organization. I was a PTA president, in the midst of racial change and overcrowding and all sorts of stuff like that. I learned there, and I bring that and share that to our concerns here. The issues to address must be data driven. That means research. And yes, we have research people. Not everybody is going to be up and be the spokesperson of the crowd of 15 people that are saying, let's solve this problem. But we need people to do the basic research. What are the specific issues? What are the specific costs? If we want to get the minimum wage raised from what, $7.25 or $7.50 an hour to 15, how do you work something like that out that our local small businesses, don't scream bloody murder and say you're just trying to put me out of business, and then we wind up in antagonism. No, we have to be for people. We have to be for people who own businesses and work together. And this is let us approach this together. What Joe Biden talks about is we can solve these things together. I think we can, but we have to address them here, personally, locally. Okay. And then we have to be willing to take the risk of serving. It isn't just serving as a leader in a political party or a political movement. We have to be willing to take that next step on occasion. Alicia, wound up on the Board of Education. Al winds up on the City Council. Spencer to town council people, took that step forward. I remember when Bob and I talked about it, and he said, well, I think I can do this. I won't just say I'll work on the local elections. I'll put my name in to run for town council. Oh my God, he won! And that's true across the board. To step forward, to be a Keith Townsend, to step forward and saying, I think we need to say true things about life in Western Rowan, and that district spills over into Davie County. Okay, let's be specific. Let's be the people who say those things and step forward. And there's a time for us to do that. Okay, in the process of all of this, we have to keep a major focus on reaching out, reaching out. Um, because we might find ourselves, together with some rather unique and interesting, maybe even strange bedfellows along the way, people that we didn't think that we would wind up having common cause with. But as we share a common cause or a common issue, then let's work together with whoever that is who says, let's solve this problem. Okay. And we might not agree with them on everything else under the sun, but if there's one issue which we agree upon, we have the the whole environmental stuff statewide. I mean nationwide, because a senator from Wisconsin was in summer school with a senator from Louisiana, and they got to know each other. And the time came, and they put together the legislation, and they got Nixon to sign it, and so we have the EPA. Okay, those are the kinds of things we need to remember, and we need to pull together so that we can accomplish things. We need to reach out specifically. Let's involve teenagers. Let's involve middle schoolers. Okay, because it isn't a matter of saying, oh, well, someday when I grow up, I'll wait a minute. We can all have our part to play in this. And some of our clearest, most insightful thinkers are 12 years old. What was this lady from, a young woman from Sweden? She didn't wait till she was, 64 in order to say something about, the environment in the world, and climate change. She's a teenager with some, so some real liabilities, in terms of who she was. But golly, did she speak out, and the world is different because of that. And we have to remember that, and our middle schoolers, our high schoolers, to reach out, our college students. Some of them are only here for 4 years, maybe less. And there are all kinds of other issues and concerns that you have when you're 19, 20, 21, et cetera. That doesn't mean that it isn't possible for them to learn here locally. I remember being at the polling place when the Livingstone kids, students came on election day, and this fine young man came up to me. I was standing there, I was this old white guy on the fringe of the crowd, and he said, "Sir, would you like a Biden-Harris sign?" And I had to smile and chuckle and said, "Yeah, young man, I think you may have gotten that sign from my office." But we're together in this. And I asked him, "Well, how old are you?" He said he was 18. This was his first presidential. I affirmed him, celebrated with him. I said, "Now, I'm 78, and I expect to hear of you 60 years from now doing this same kind of thing." Now, I don't know what's going to go through that young man's mind, 10 years from now, 30 years from now, maybe even 60 years from now. He might remember that old guy who said, "I expect this of you. I expect you to be involved, because this is something that we can do to make the world a better place, to reach out and lift up for the common good of everyone." So, in the process of that, who here is willing to learn Spanish? Who is willing? If you're going to, okay, put your name in the chat. Put your name in the chat, and we'll have Al teach you, because she knows Spanish. or have Flora teach, or maybe we can find a high school teacher to step in here. Because if we're going to take seriously reaching out in this community, we have to truly mean we're going to reach out, and we're going to do that. And let's keep that in mind. Reaching out to the non-participating Black folks, white folks. People say it just doesn't matter what I say or not. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. 12,000 votes in Georgia gave Georgia the electoral votes for Biden and Harris. Don't tell me that a few votes don't matter. We produce them here. We produce them here. There are what, 50 some of us on the call this morning. If each one of us would have come up with 10 more people, to vote in this last election, this county alone would have seen to it that Sherry Beasley, our fine Chief Justice, would still be the Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court. That's the kind of effect that we can have here. Will we grow in terms of electing people countywide? We might, but we can grow in terms of helping people understand what is the common good here? What is the common good? So finally, let me talk about communication. We listen, we learn, we advocate, we serve, but we have to stay connected to all the different groups that we're part of. If you're part of a church, open your mouth at church. If you're part of a neighborhood group, open your mouth in the neighborhood group. If you're part of a Black club, open your mouth in the Black club. If you're part of a book club, open your mouth at the book club, okay? So that we stay connected, so that we are seen as the people of justice, continually seeking here to build a more perfect union. Ain't perfect yet, but a more perfect union, which means we got to communicate. We have to update the website. We need people who are good at that. I'm technologically, I can set up a Zoom call now. Would you believe? Would you believe I can do that? But I'm not good at this stuff. We need to put regular messages on Facebook. You heard me speak, from the chair, that little video that Ken and I did from my living room the other day. We need to do more stuff like that. And I'm thinking through ways in which we can do that so that on a regular basis, we follow Al's good example from her campaign and have me or somebody saying some important things about what's going on here in Rowan County on a regular basis. We need to do more of our regular email messages, and that means paying attention to email when it comes to us. I realize that the name of Twitter has been badly smeared by that guy in Washington, but to have Twitter comments would be most important here, or Instagram. Kate's daughter tried to convince me that we could do Instagram. I'm a failure trying to figure out how to do that. But that is the language of many of our young people. And so to connect into that, to message that, to get that word out. And Diane has learned how to do texting. Or what is it, that she's done? She's getting all this stuff, that's, she's pointing at her phone, whatever it is that she does with that phone, and gets messages out. Of course, that means we have to organize a communication team. All right. And if you're willing to be part of that communication team, put your name in the chat. Put your name in the chat. And Diane and Ken have to keep watching that chat. And Ken, maybe you can keep all the info that's in the chat so that we can do follow-up here. Okay. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for signing up and you using Act Blue or writing your checks. Well, that's what keeps us going here, in Rowan County. A long time ago, Diane mentioned, I challenged the board, could we have an office? And they said, well, if you can raise the money, we can have an office. I said, well, okay. Okay. And then about 2 years ago, I said, we could really use to have a staff person who really knows what they're doing about political organizing and Vote Builder and Act Blue and all the right legal stuff. and they said, you raise the money, we can do it. Well, here we are, and we've had Ken on board for almost 2 years now, and we've even paid him. I think we missed 1 month, but we pay. Thank you for your financial support, and spread that word. This is how we keep the lifeblood going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Finally, remember the 3 Ws. We're still in a pandemic. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and wait 6 feet apart. When the vaccine becomes available for you, get in line and get it. Get in line and get it. At the current moment, 75 and up can go to the West End Plaza. Monday, Ken had the advertising up for that earlier. Let's get those vaccine shots. We have to beat this pandemic because our lives are important, and the lives of the ones we love and the lives of the ones we don't necessarily love are important. We are in this together. We're Rowan County. We're here to make progress for everyone, to seek the common good, to have a more perfect union. Well, I don't get to preach too much any longer, but thank you all for listening. And